Jamie Gutfreund came on the show a few months back and said she'd like to get rid of HR entirely. I get it. Everyone's had experiences with HR that have been less than stellar. Today, I speak with someone who brings a different POV. Philip Suba has worked in HR for years and believes in it deeply, but it has to be done right. What does right look like? You need to really understand the business you work on. It's not enough to just know the HR stuff. How does your work support the larger goals of the organization? You need to be ready for the hard conversations because you're going to have a lot of them. How you manage yourself and how well you listen to the folks you're speaking with means everything. And you need to be human. Recognize that people's livelihoods are at stake when you step into the room. Be mindful of that and show empathy, but also hold it together. You're not helping anyone if you mirror their tears, their anger, frustration, or whatever else shows up. Give people space to feel and also keep the conversation on point. It's not an easy balance to strike, but I like how Philip approaches it. He shares some of the myth conceptions around HR as well, which are fun and eye-opening. Bottom line, there's no easy answer on any of this stuff. I think it's great that some folks are willing to try an HR-less approach. Let's see what they learn. And I like that HR pros like Philip are committed to doing it better each day. What's your take? Is HR needed? If so, what does a great HR team look like to you? Welcome to the DesuckifyWork podcast, the show where we cut through the BS and find ways to make work more fun, more human, and less ridiculous. All of which makes your business more profitable, by the way. If you enjoy this one, please like, share, rate, review, or subscribe to the podcast. Let the desuckifying begin. Here's Philip. Okay, Philip Suba, welcome to the DesuckifyWork podcast.
Thank you for having me, TJ.
Yeah, thank you for coming on, Philip. It's been a long time since we worked together back at Draft, which is like 20-ish years ago now, which is crazy. But it's been fun. We've obviously kept in touch over these years, and I'm excited to talk about the world of HR today. I know it's a sometimes polarizing world. It gets some love and some hate, I would say. And I know you're in that world, so I think it'll be fun to sort of explore that world in a way that gets us the real story as opposed to the snippets we might see on social media.
Yes, there are definitely many snippets on social media. Some of them not the most flattering things about HR for sure.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. So I'm curious, I've obviously introduced you a bit, but how did you find your way into the world of HR?
When we were working together,
Mm-hmm.
what was that? Let's just say, for argument's sake, it was 5 years ago. Years ago. Just keep ourselves relevant here, okay?
Yes.
Actually, 20 years ago,
Yeah.
when I got into the position where we were working together, I ended up training a lot of the assistants that came on board.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually enjoyed doing it because my background was really theater and music, and many, many years ago, if we're going to go back even further, maybe 30 or 35 years ago, I really had an interest in becoming a performer.
Oh, cool.
I love theater, I love music, so that was the perfect way to blend everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I took an interest in it, in training people. I mentored with our former global VP of HR.
Mm-hmm.
He took me under his wing, and I really was hoping to get a training position where we were working, but the merger happened and life happened after that. So I just ended up applying for an HR position as an HR assistant, and I had no idea what
Yeah.
zero idea. So it was like a trial by fire.
Mm-hmm.
And 20 years later, and I'm doing it, and I'm doing what I love. I didn't expect that to happen.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's interesting to make that connection between training people and kind of that theater world. I'm curious, once you kind of got into the fuller world of HR, what What surprised you about it?
You know, I honestly didn't know much about HR, probably as much as people know now.
Yeah.
And back then, you go to HR when you have a problem with your pay, when you
Mm-hmm.
have a problem with your manager or boss,
Mm-hmm.
when you are looking to quit, or when you're in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
All I knew that HR did.
Yeah.
So, what has surprised me is that it really takes a lot more than just knowing how to do those things to
Mm-hmm.
be in human resources or people operations.
Yeah.
I think the thing that surprised me the most is that you really need to be compassionate, but you have to know how to balance that with it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a hard thing to do.
I would imagine. I mean, I think when I think about the sort of negative views on HR, a lot of people will say something like they don't, you know, because you represent the business, how can you care for the employees, right? And you're talking about this balance. So how do you navigate that, knowing you are supporting the business and you've got a lot of people sort of counting on you for a level of support?
It all boils down really to accountability, teacher. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
When you are feeling like you have done something wrong,
Mm-hmm.
you are going to go into something feeling very defensive or wondering why this person wants to talk to you.
Yeah.
Okay. You have the opposite of that where you feel you can do no wrong and
Mm-hmm.
you're ready to face anybody.
Yeah.
So going into things like this, people have to understand that it's not just about, well, why do I have to explain myself? Well, you're part of a business, you're part of a job, and you have responsibilities.
Mm.
Make that commitment. Whether we are happy in that or want to go somewhere else, you always have a choice. And
Mm-hmm.
it is to take whatever is best for you.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So to look at it that way and sometimes make yourself very vulnerable because you
Mm-hmm.
getting something out of it rather than, well, why do they need to speak to me? I don't think they have my best interest in mind. And that's understandable.
Yeah. 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 That's an interesting thought. Like, what can you get out of it? What can you learn from it? Um, it's tough to do when you're in that sort of defensive mode. So, on your side as an HR person, is there anything you can do or have done to help somebody sort of get to a more neutral position when they're speaking with you or anyone on the team?
Yes. The first thing that I like to do with people, and this is whether they're open to it or not, it just happens.
Mm-hmm.
I let people know that we are people and employees just like anybody else.
Mm.
Because we're on this side of conversation saying something to you doesn't mean that it doesn't happen to us or that
Yeah.
it could not happen to us.
Mm-hmm.
When you let your defenses down at a reasonable level, people feel more comfortable letting down their defenses too.
Mm-hmm.
Being a little more headstrong coming into something, you have to figure out, how are you going to match this person? Are you going to match them with the same level of energy that they're bringing in? Like if somebody came to you just completely closed off, not wanting to talk,
Mm-hmm.
you do that too, the more they won't want to
Yeah.
talk.
Mm-hmm.
So that again, that goes back to the theater training. And I was very lucky to have a mentor who was my first director and introduced me to a lot of the people that taught me so much in theater. It's all
Mm-hmm.
about emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
You have to be able to read the room. Sometimes that room is one person, sometimes it's 100 people.
Right.
That's the approach that I take. Is
Mm.
is it always going to work? Maybe not right away.
Yeah.
Definitely sets a much better foundation for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can see that. Yeah. Emotional intelligence is an interesting term because I think I'm not sure we all fully understand what it means. I mean, we sort of, yeah, obviously relate it to IQ, and then there's EQ, and so there's some sense of, okay, there's a grade I might get about it,
Yes.
but what it seems to ultimately mean is the blend of self-awareness and other awareness, and that's the kind of reading the room, like what's going on out there, and then what's going on inside of me, and how do I sort of adjust my own presence to meet the room and find a way, whereas I think sometimes we're taught to just, this is a tricky thing, right? I am a firm believer that it's good to be authentic and more yourself, but sometimes when people hear the phrase, bring your whole self to work, it it actually becomes an excuse to sort of just be like the worst version of ourselves, to just kind of like spread that all around, because like, take me as I am, that's me, as opposed to emotional intelligence seems more like know myself, really know myself, know the strengths I bring, know my weaknesses, my biases, etc., and then understand how that might appear in a room, and try to modulate, right? Try to meet people where they are. What do you find helps folks build and develop that skill? Because I don't think it's sort of inherent in most of us. I think it's a learned thing over time. But does anything seem to help us really grow in that area?
Well, I have learned over these past years, when someone comes into something, into a meeting, especially with HR, we
Yeah.
have already the myths, the what I like to call the myth conceptions. Am I in trouble? What do I have to do? Why do they need to know this? It's none of their business. They're not, the whole
Hmm.
the whole list of things that we go through.
Yeah.
I think in the beginning, especially if it's the first time that you're meeting with someone,
Hmm.
it's not easy for them to separate their personal feelings about work and their professional feelings about the work that they're doing.
Hmm.
It is very easy to say, leave your stuff at home and come to work, especially with what happened during the pandemic, where people were working from home. They
Right.
were in a makeshift office, but their family life or their personal life was still going on.
Hmm.
A lot of people have that trouble of turning off their personal feelings about something.
Hmm.
In reality, when you're working for anyone, especially if you're working for yourself, if you have your own business,
Yeah.
to be very frank, business does not really care about how you feel.
Hmm.
You should care about how you feel.
Right.
The business is not going to stop because, oh, I have a tummy ache. Oh, I'm fighting with my partner. Oh,
Hmm.
I lost money on this.
Right.
Business is like life. Life,
Hmm.
but people need that outlet to express themselves. Now,
Hmm.
if they come into the meeting, excuse me, and they feel that way, let them get that off their chest,
Yeah.
whatever they're feeling.
Hmm.
Then you start the real meeting. Sometimes it does help and it breaks down that barrier.
Yeah.
But you wanting to listen, although, time is of the essence. We don't always have time to. If I listened to everyone's personal situations, I probably wouldn't be able to get to work. But a little bit,
Yeah.
enough for them to say, okay, I feel a little comfortable now because it let off a little steam. Now I'm ready.
Yeah. Mm. Okay. So I want to go back a little bit and just ask you a couple of questions about your own take on work and work experience. I mean, I'm curious because you've had this career that's spanned a few different things. Right now, like what role does work play in your life?
Now I'm not trying to sound cliche, but that is a very good question because
Mm.
if you asked me 3 years ago,
Yeah.
I would have said work is my entire life. I
Mm.
cannot fail. I must do everything correctly because I was alone in
Mm.
that time.
Yeah.
It has found a different role in my life now. It's still just as important.
Hmm.
I have to remember that when I am working now, I am not stopping any kind of learning.
Hmm.
I thought I knew everything I needed to know for this job
Yeah.
from experience that I had. But you have to look at work as you are learning something, not just from what you're doing and what you take home with you after everything is done, from all the people you interact with. And that's not just necessarily with HR. So the role in my life now is
Mm-hmm.
just as much a teacher about my life as my own personal life.
Mm. Oh, I like that. That's interesting. Yeah, I think sometimes we want to keep it all separate, and I like the idea that um, that work can teach us something,
Yeah.
not just necessarily in the work context, but it's life learning, and I always feel like it's interesting how much we can separate work from life as if we don't have it's not all life. Like,
Hmm.
if you're spending 8, 9, even 10 hours a day doing a thing, how could that not be life?
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think the idea that the things we learn, the way we grow in the work hours, of course, impacts who we are more holistically. Yeah. Yeah. Um, what's the thing that can make work suck the most, in your experience? Like when work isn't great,
Uh,
what's happening?
from my perspective, it's not having an answer or not knowing how to help resolve an immediate situation.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how many times you do this, TJ, with employees,
Yeah.
no two people are the same. And the unpredictability of the situation can be exciting, but it can also be very nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
You, I'm going to admit, sometimes when I'm driving into work, and I'm thinking about what I have to do for the day, I get into my own head way too much.
Yeah.
And I analyze the situation, but that's how I am. And then I end up meeting someone or talking to someone or going through this project, and it really wasn't as bad as I thought it was. So I think this happens to a lot of employees,
Mm-hmm.
but they feel their outcome is going to be they're kind of writing their own destiny before it's even written for them in any way.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you just have to look at things. Whatever happened the day before doesn't mean it's going to filter over into the next day. And
Yeah.
if you let that hold you back, you keep, well, I do that too. So I've learned to control that though much.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting notion. The idea that what we bring into work helps create the experience of work. I mean, I think it's natural to just think it's all coming at us, happening to us, and not realizing that, like, yeah, if we're bringing a mindset or we're carrying certain emotions with us into the office, of course that's going to affect the experience. It may not be the only driver, but I do think, of course, it's going to have a big impact.
The other thing that could really make work suck is the type of manager that you have. You can be really good and you can really enjoy the work you do. But if you don't have somebody that's invested in what you're doing, or maybe just always contradicts something you want to do or an idea that you have, it is so bad in so many ways. And people don't realize that. And
Mm.
that's what makes people lose their interest in work because they feel like I'm just a number. I'm not going to be able to make a difference.
Mm. Hmm. Yeah, awesome. So I'm curious, in your role in HR, is helping managers become better managers. Is that a piece of it? And if so, what do you do to help somebody become somebody that people want to come into work for versus sort of dread working for?
I mean, that's a very good question because a lot of people have this question and a lot of people don't ask it.
Mm-hmm.
The reality is, most people that become managers or anything above that, they don't always get the mentoring and training to lead people, to
Mm-hmm.
motivate them. They're usually very good at a function, and that's
Mhm.
why they keep getting promoted. And that's good. You must be good in your function. You
Mhm.
have to know what you're doing. But when you start being responsible for people, nobody really teaches you that.
Mhm.
That is how HR and people operations is changing now because we identify these things and not just mediate, but also educate. How are you communicating with people? Your communication steers pretty much how you're going to manage your direct reports. And
Mhm.
so that's how I establish rapport with people. I acknowledge what they do very well in management and leadership. I don't say, you're not doing this. I just ask them, what is their motivation for doing something this way? I want to know their experience, how they came up in the business,
Right.
right?
Mhm. Yeah. Mm. So one of the things I think where there can be confusion is just down to the fundamentals of like, what does HR actually do?
Mhm.
Right. You talked about how when you started it, a lot of it was like, the paychecks and a couple of other things. And it's very much evolved over time to the point that a lot of places don't even call it HR. It's, you know, uh,
People operate.
people operations, people relations. Way back in the day, it was personnel. Like, so it's definitely had its
Yeah.
evolution over time. How would you define the role of HR?
You know, you're right in the sense that it has changed a lot. I'm going to say that this has become more of a partnership. I think the reason it has become that is HR itself has realized in order for you to be able to help employees and to help develop them, you have to understand the business. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that I've always done even without people telling me, because realistically, how are you supposed to recruit and find talent for a position if you don't understand what the company does? What does each department do?
Mm-hmm.
Right? When you become more invested in how the business is actually running and look at the micro parts, not just the macro part of the business,
Mm-hmm.
you get a lot more buy-in from the people that you're working with. I need a creative director that is good in this because our industry is this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I'll find somebody on Indeed or LinkedIn and just send you. When you take time to filter through those, you say, I don't have time to wait. Okay, you don't have time to wait, but you want to make sure that you get the right person. This is
Mm-hmm.
what to do for you based on how you are and what you're doing. That's
Yeah.
just a small example.
Yeah.
That's really what it has become now. Yes, payroll, yes, benefits, all of those things are very important because
Sure.
things are things that employees rely on. They rely on the pay, they rely on benefits, they rely
Mm-hmm.
on time off, but they also rely on being taught something.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think it's important. I think it's not easy. Um, I am curious at the end of the day, if HR is doing a great job, what impact is it having on the business?
Well, the first thing you're going to see is the morale of the employees. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
As you said, there are many things about work that can really suck. You start having good experiences with the people that are made for your support system in that office, it does change the morale. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Okay, because they no longer feel like, oh, this sucks. I can't talk to. Oh, they're never going to understand. They're never
Mm-hmm.
going to listen. They don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Listening doesn't always mean that you can do something about it, but
Yeah.
listening is a very big part
Yeah.
how you can relate to other people.
I agree. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's emotional intelligence right there, right? To to truly listen so that somebody feels like they've been heard, that they've been um, understood.
Mhm.
And then still to your point, yeah, sometimes we want things and we can't get them, and that's okay. But if I feel like I'm talking to a wall, and I think, if you think about like the worst experiences that many of us have had with HR, that might be the feeling. It's like
Yeah.
there's sort of the HR face of I need to be so neutral that I don't sort of seem like I'm connected to you. And so it's just like you say things and it's like, yes, but the official policy is blah, 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 as opposed to, I hear you. I understand. Yeah, that does suck. I'm not sure we can do anything about it, but, or at least about that. But I want to understand what else could potentially make you feel more engaged and happy at work. What can we do? Right. I mean, that's such a different conversation. And I think, you know, if I was the head of HR, that's like the art of that kind of conversation feels like one of the most important things, because you become the face of the company in so many ways to people, because most of us are not in a position to go talk to the CEO or the leadership team about any issues or even opportunities we're trying to seek out. So HR is that face. And if the face feels very like robotic, well, then, yeah, of course, people are going to drift away from the company. So I appreciate that you're seeing the importance of that. And this kind of gets me to, you know, you talked a little bit. I think, what did you say? The myths, and then you called it the
myth conceptions.
myth conceptions. I like that idea. I want to go through some of these a little bit, because I think if you ask everybody who's listening right now, I'm sure they have some thoughts about who HR is, what HR is. And some of those are I don't want to dismiss them, because I've had bad experiences with HR. So, but what are some of those misconceptions, and, you know, what would you want people to know about HR?
Well, the number one myth conception,
Mm-hmm.
am I getting fired?
Mm,
Anytime that HR wants to set up a meeting with anyone,
yeah.
oh my God, I'm in trouble. Something happened. That's not always the case.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we just need to meet with you to talk to you.
Yeah. Mm.
Now they say, "Oh, I can't help it. HR scares me. I'm always going to feel like I'm getting fired." Right?
This is a tricky one, right? Because, um, for two reasons. One, depending on somebody's experience previously, that
Right.
may have been the main time people got FaceTime. And then I think you throw in at least the current culture. I mean, there's so many layoffs happening, and a lot of them don't necessarily seem to be correlating to how I'm showing up as an employee. It's these blanket mass layoffs. Now, you know, usually these mass layoffs are done in a much worse way than just simply having a one-on-one meeting with HR. I just read today about, I think it's Meta laid off a bunch of people with a 4 a.m. email.
Yeah.
And they also told all the employees to work from home today. So this is the stuff that fuels this sense. And now that's not HR probably making that decision. That's probably coming from way up
Sure.
here, but HR is the one delivering it. You know what I mean? They're probably the ones where maybe the email's coming from so and so, you know, CHRO or HR business partner. So I wonder, one, how do you create engagement with people so that they don't feel that, so that they realize that there are other reasons. Some of them can be good to talk to HR, like, hey, what do you want from your career? Blah, blah, blah. We're working on career development right now. That part of it. And then how do you deal with the cultural weight of a world where people are getting, you know, mass layoffs and all that stuff? How do you navigate the emotions that I'm sure come up around that?
I will have to bring this back to three things.
No.
Okay. First thing being, I would actually like to mention the person who's been very influential to me.
Mm.
Okay. And I talked to you a little bit about when I was doing theater, and this particular person's name, her name is Monique Wilson.
Okay.
It's one of the original London cast members of Miss Saigon back in 89.
Nice.
Moved to the Philippines in 1994. My mom happened to find an advertisement for her new theater company that she was opening.
Mm.
And I'm so excited because I had known so much about what she was doing, and I
Hmm.
wanted to take her workshop. The first day of the workshop, okay, she went around and she asked, there were probably about maybe 45 of us at that time in that class. She asked everyone, what does theater mean to you? What are you hoping to get out of this? I
Yeah.
I I just love being able to perform and express myself. That,
Hmm.
I believe, if I paraphrase that a bit.
Hmm.
Workshop went on over a number of weeks. I left that workshop learning that when you go out there, no matter your audience size, you have to be honest, you have to be genuine, and you should not have any expectations.
Yeah.
Because if you do, it alters the honesty of how you deliver things.
Mm.
So, in going into anything that has to deal with any kind of employee relations, with culture, with anything that has to do with management, leadership, I always look at it like the best thing that you can give somebody else at work is honesty with compassion and
Hmm.
always genuine and straightforward.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for listening. If you're liking what you hear and like the idea of making work not suck, I invite you to schedule a free half-hour discovery session. What would make your work culture more human? Let's talk about it. All right, back to the show. Yeah. Mm. So I love that. And this comes back to probably what might show up on your list of misconceptions is
Big
that
list.
that because I think some folks would say HR doesn't always feel that way,
Yeah.
that it can feel less than honest, and it's almost like a politician in a way because there's a guardedness
Yes.
to it. Um, so I appreciate that you're trying to find a way to show up in that is genuine. Um, I mean, is that one of the myths that you feel is that HR can't be sort of honest in that way?
Yeah. And listen, there are some things that we cannot say,
Yeah.
but there are many things that we can say. And
Yeah.
look, just like having a sales position, we have a lot of salespeople in our company.
Mm-hmm.
Have to really pound the pavement, find new business, manage existing business. What makes some of these people really good at what they do is that every interaction they have with a prospect, with a current client, with anyone, there is that genuine, I want to know what you need.
Yeah.
How I help you grow your business.
Mm-hmm.
Principle that I've taken from everywhere, not
Yeah.
just Peter, but other mentors too. Not every person does this, and it also depends on what you do within people operations and human resources.
Yeah.
But look at my tagline on LinkedIn. I said to myself, how am I going to set myself apart? Because I don't want it to sound phony. I
Mm-hmm.
don't want artificial.
Yeah.
So I looked at what it was, and every interaction that I do have with people, and I know a lot of people don't like absolutes every time, always. I always do this, but it's true. Whatever interaction you get with me, you're getting who I am,
Mm.
regardless of the message that I have to deliver.
Yeah. Mm.
People appreciate that.
Yeah. What is your headline on LinkedIn?
I put the human back in human resources.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing that most people crave, right?
Yeah.
Is that. Um, so it's nice to see you doing that. I'm curious, when you look around at the world of HR, do you feel like people are showing up that way mostly, or like where is the state of HR right now based on your experience? Are more people trying to show up, fully human, fully genuine, as open as they can be, or are there different sort of schools of thought about what it means to be an HR person and how you can show up?
I do believe as a whole, people in human resources and people operations are showing up differently.
Yeah.
Also believe that it depends on the industry that you
Hmm.
work.
Yeah.
Okay. If I were to look at maybe like a legal environment or financial services, yes, to some extent, there can be an impact. But then
Mhm.
if you get into advertising, marketing, if you get into anything social media related or in the beauty arena, anything, or even entertainment,
Mhm.
the way that people are going to show up is going to be different. So
Mhm.
the thing is adaptability. I
Yeah.
think to make a very good HR person, you have to learn to adapt, pivot, shift, whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
All throughout whatever I've done, whether it's been at a law firm, whether it's been in management consulting, whether it's been in entertainment payroll, whether it's been in beauty, you have to learn to pivot. The fundamental principles are the same. How they receive the message is different.
Yeah. So like legal and financial environments have a certain culture
Yes.
that requires you to show up a certain way. Then you get into advertising, entertainment, a little more creative, a little,
Right.
looser in some ways. And you kind of need to meet people where they are in all of that. I mean, it's funny because I can see how, like, I see the value in that, and then I can see somebody potentially wondering, like, well, then, like, why can't you just always be one way, like fully human, like, and I think what I would argue under this, and this is me sort of defending your position here a bit, is part of being human is to sort of read the room and meet the room. As much as like sometimes that may not feel great to us, I always have said, and this is my own work experience. If I come into an agency or a company and meeting the room makes me feel like crap, well then I don't want to be there. And
Yeah.
then I'll move on. Like that's a good gauge for me. Like, oh, if I really need to kind of meet people where they are here, it's just not really going to feel genuine for me. I have to be someone I'm not. So I think there's value in understanding that we do need to flex a bit. And then if it really doesn't feel good, then that's not for you. I mean, I imagine you've had experiences where, you're like, this is less my speed than others.
Yes,
Yeah.
I mean, it's never going to be perfect each
Yeah.
time what attitude you take to it. But
Yeah.
I like to give the analogy of, I don't know if you've had this experience, but when you have to go look for a car,
Mm. Hmm.
yeah, you get that very aggressive sales talk
Yep.
or someone that's just like, "Hey, how are you doing? What are you looking for today?" kind of
Mm.
thing.
Yep.
You can read someone so quickly, and
Hmm.
you need something in the end. Okay.
Hmm.
So when things happen like that, when I have to address people and they are completely shut off,
Yeah.
I'm talking about really like their body is there, but that's the only thing that's there.
Yeah.
And the best way to get engagement from people is to make them feel involved in the conversation. So
Mm.
you have to talk about something. And I know it's probably not the most interesting topic. It may not be the best news, but you need to hear it.
Yeah.
But I have a responsibility. I need to make it in such a way that people will feel engaged.
Hmm.
People think for themselves
Yeah.
and people will do that exchange and communication. So that's how I get their attention and that's how I get their buy-in on things.
Yeah.
Changes the tone of the conversation.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, I think all that stuff is critical. I think, I've been in rooms on both ends of that kind of thing where I've shut down and
Yeah.
some people are not great at sort of shifting to that. And then I've also been in a conversation with somebody who's clearly shut down, and it's
Mhm.
it's hard. It's hard to figure out like how somebody can actually start to hear you, what is the connection point? I think it's a critical skill, not just for HR people, but for all of us in life, but particularly in business where the stakes are so high, right? This is our livelihood. So it's important that we get skillful at the art of conversation. And I think we think that should just come naturally. And I think the results say otherwise. We've all fumbled through conversations. We've all witnessed those kinds of bad conversations. I mean, how much room is there in the work world these days for, I don't know if it's training. I'm not sure exactly what it is. Could be coaching. And I know that's a little more the world I come from, like to help people really master that art. Because I think most of us most of us come into an office more like a C student around communication. How do you get people up to at least a B plus, if not an A?
Well, that would be the same way that you get anybody to be good at what they'd like to be good at doing.
Yeah.
You have to do it.
Yeah.
If someone is not good at communicating or someone is not good at expressing themselves, you can't do anything and you can't help that person unless they try it.
Yeah.
Okay? Communication is something you have to do regardless of the job that you have, even if you're not client facing, people facing, anything that we ever do, no matter what the job, requires some level of communication.
Yeah.
Okay? So for those that, again, this is like those managers that get put in positions that don't know how to manage people. It's not their fault, right?
Yeah.
So where in organizations or companies, okay, can you fill in that gap? You have to be very good about what kind of HR or people operations person you bring in. I mean, some of the best human resources people that I have worked for and worked with don't even have a background in human resources. They studied something completely different industry.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like what do you learn aside from learning on the job? Yes, learning about it and learning, online or in school and through experience is very helpful, but that's like music and theater. You can learn the theory, but when you're actually in front of people, you could have studied for 12 years.
Yeah.
And sound like crap.
Yeah. Yeah. Showing up it's probably the best bit of advice, just show up, be okay with, the growing pains that come with making mistakes and then, figuring out how to push it a little better next time. I am curious. I always wonder, you must see a lot in HR. You must see like a lot of things, and there's probably some horror stories and just crazy situations. I mean, and I wonder, one, if you're open to talking about any of those, meaning from both sides, meaning the craziest thing you've had to deal with, or the craziest thing you've seen HR do. I mean, any and all of those. Is there anything you're willing to share in that space?
Honestly, there's so many things I could tell you. I will say probably one of the scariest things that I have seen are visceral reactions to news that you give people. Okay, whether it's about their pay, whether it's about having to pay. Okay, getting that close to someone trying to want to do some physical harm to you is very unnerving.
I can imagine.
That happened. I was like, okay, I understand the news is not good. I have to be ready for whatever reaction comes on board. Again, one of my other mentors, Shelly, she's become such a good friend to me over the last 12 years.
Yeah.
She just said that, you cannot take things so personally. She goes, you are a very emotionally intelligent person, but she goes, you tend to really bury yourself in those feelings. And that's good that you have such depth to feel, but you not take things personally. Because once somebody unleashes their wrath on you, a few minutes later, they're like a pussycat again.
Right.
right? And that's exactly what happened. But of course, the first time that it happens to you, like this really angry reaction, it's like,
Yeah.
did I screw up? Did I do something wrong? Maybe I shouldn't have said this. I felt terrible.
Hmm.
Like a good 3 weeks, and I was scared to talk to anyone and give any kind of news that they were going to have to spend money on something.
Yeah.
And it, if I'm being honest, I almost quit because that's never happened to me in my career before. But
Yeah.
thankfully for my friend Shelly, she talked me off the ledge, and ever since then, anytime somebody comes yelling and screaming and it's just unreasonable, you have to let them have their moment.
Yeah. It's it's got to be tough though. I mean, particularly if somebody's getting physical or at least threatening physical
For
harm.
me, it hasn't gotten to that point, although
Yeah.
I'm surprised with some of the news that I've had to give. It hasn't gotten to that point, but
Yeah.
it's just been vocally. But
Yeah. Still
yeah,
scary. Yeah, because you don't know. You don't know where people are when they're at that edge.
and that's a chance you have to take with anything, even when you're dealing with people in general. If you're telling them something, they may be not in the mood to hear something, and
Yeah.
you just have to be prepared. And again, it goes back to performing too.
Yeah.
Now, you could have a good performance one night, you could sound terrific. The next day, something's a little off with
Hmm.
whether you have to speak or whether you have to sing. Maybe you're just not feeling great. But the audiences that come to see you, they don't care that you're not feeling well. You have to show up, and you may get the reaction that you don't want to get, but you
Yeah.
have to do it anyway. And
Hmm.
again, you have to show up regardless of the results.
Yeah. It's got to be tricky, I can definitely see both sides of this in the sense that because of all that's kind of going on in the broader culture around work and all the layoffs, like I get the visceral reaction, like especially if, um, you're in a situation where you and your family are maybe on the edge financially or something like that, or you've just gotten bad news at home about somebody being sick or whatever, and you really count on that. So like, I would imagine this might be just an important part of HR training and readiness right now is to realize that people are on edge, that people are feeling a lot right now, and that regardless of where you're coming from, your intent, your ability to center yourself and try to show up a certain way, sometimes when you deliver bad news, a layoff, something about their pay, whatever, you're gonna get a reaction, right? And to be able to sort of sit there and let that be expressed,
Mm-hmm.
that's a massive skill. Where it's both, you're dealing with your own emotions probably of fear and frustration and like, oh, I didn't mean it that way. Like, why, like all these emotions kind of coming out.
Yeah,
And yet you want to give people space to be human.
true. And for anyone that's listening to this, okay, that can specifically relate to what you're saying right now.
Yeah.
This is another myth conception that I will say right now.
Yeah.
If you are feeling so torn up about what is about to be told to you or what is being told to you, I can guarantee you the person that is delivering the message to you is feeling just as distraught to have to give
Mm.
that message to you.
Yeah.
You, on the other side, can express how you want. We cannot.
Right.
We're feeling it. And that's not an easy thing to do. Let people express themselves, especially when you give them news that they don't want to hear.
Hmm.
I can't sit there and cry with them as
Right.
much as I feel for them, whether it's a justified reaction or not.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's tricky. I can see that. I mean, there's a level of empathy there that you're talking about that, to be fair, I think some people are probably showing up thinking that you're not bringing that certain HR people are not, because,
Yeah.
this is this weird balance of, you know, showing up, being there for somebody, but not getting too caught up in the emotions. Um, some people are going to interpret that as, oh, they're not feeling it, right? Therefore, HR is this cold, unfeeling, unempathetic group, as opposed to the way
We
you're describing it is like, well, the feelings are there, but we need to manage them in a certain way so that we can hold that space for other people, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I guess an easier way to put it too, and this is very cold. If I were to tell you that you've lost your job
Mm-hmm.
and I expressed whatever emotion you're expressing, whether it's to be upset, to cry, to be angry, if I matched that, okay, it would be a lot harder for you to accept the fact that you've been terminated. Okay.
Yeah.
In some cases, I would rather that you leave the situation thinking, oh, I can't believe HR did this. I can't believe I lost my job, because that's the first step to accepting what has happened.
Yeah.
I would rather be the bad person. If it's going to help you start accepting and moving on,
Yeah.
rather than it was so hard to do that because the HR person was crying with me, and
Yeah. Creates confusion.
you're going to think that I could do something to
Right.
get your job back. Right?
Yeah. 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 That's tough. Yeah. I get that. Um, how's AI affecting HR, if at all, right now?
I believe AI is being very helpful.
Okay.
This is kind of like going back to term papers in
Mm-hmm.
college, where you'd have to go to the library, go get encyclopedias, get almanacs, get reference materials.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing with AI, and I think this relates to any job, even if it's a very technical engineering type job.
Mm-hmm.
How you utilize AI is going to dictate how relevant your job is.
Mm.
So if I were to look up something, okay, how do I handle this situation? If I were to follow the AI prompts word for word,
Yeah.
it's not going to work. There are things that you have to just look at that, tailor it, and understand. It's
Yeah.
kind of cheating on a test and get 100 on the test, 100%. But if you don't understand why the answers are the answers, you'd learn nothing,
Right. Yeah.
right? I tell people that if you're going to cheat, cheat, but learn what you're cheating on.
This is the tricky thing, right?
Yeah.
Because um, your description of how you're using AI comes from what I see as lots of years of not having the benefit of AI.
Right.
And so you're developing judgment, discernment,
Mm-hmm.
critical thinking, all of that stuff. And if you come into, the world of work or just adulthood, and AI is just feeding you everything, when do you get a chance to learn the discernment, the critical thinking? That's a thing I think we're struggling with a little bit right now. Like, how do I develop skills that I don't have to develop? We
Mm-hmm.
had to develop them. But 10 years down the road, if you've just been relying on AI, then you get promoted and suddenly somebody's showing you work and you're like, I don't know if that's good. How do I know
Mm-hmm.
if it's good? And then I have to just like, it gets into this weird space. And so I wonder how we start to develop all of those important human skills
Mm-hmm.
in the face of AI being able to do so much. I mean, it's a really tricky question, I think.
Well, I'm going to answer that as I do everything else, as honestly and as down to earth as I can.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say that you came to me, okay, knowing that I had a background in performing before, and you would like to get some tips and maybe learn how to speak publicly to a group of certain professionals, and it's really not that very interesting of material, but you want to learn how to be relevant.
Yeah.
Okay. And I just say, okay, I'm going to email you some stuff. Okay. That should do it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. are you going to take it at face value,
Mm.
or what would you do with it? I'm curious. If you asked me for that and I just emailed you a list of things you could do, what are you going to do with it?
I mean, in that instance, I would probably try them.
Okay.
Meaning, like, okay, if you said, speak as if, I don't know, speak to the person in the back row, something like that. That was a chick. Okay. I would project myself and I would be at home and I'd be like, what is it like to speak to the person in the back? Like, and I would feel it. And then I would kind of go, okay. And I think what I would do is I would try and experiment with all of the things you gave me, and the ones that felt most right, I would take, and the ones that maybe didn't feel right, I would push to the side. And then I would go into that experience with whatever I took and then hopefully learn from that experience.
Okay. Would you believe me? Like when I tell you, okay, just focus on these things and you should be fine.
My
If I,
inclination is to believe you depending on my relationship with you, right?
Mhm.
Meaning if I have a decent relationship with you and I trust you generally, I'd be like, okay, they're trying to help me. These are things that have probably helped them before. Therefore, they can be helpful, and
Okay.
therefore I should at least experiment with them.
So if you ask, like, let's say Chat GPT, the same things,
Yeah.
it's out a lot of information for you. How are you going to feel when it spits out that information for you?
I always find myself with very mixed emotions because I don't trust it in the way that I would trust a person.
Hmm.
But I don't dismiss it either because I know it's grabbing a lot of information. I mean, AI is essentially like a best practices gatherer. Like it's going to take on all the stuff out there and go, these are the things that show up most when I'm sending my queries out to the world. Right. So I have some faith that it's based in something. Um, and so I'd probably want to experiment with it. That said, I've had enough wonkiness from AI where it hallucinates something, where
Yes.
there's going to be a little extra layer of,
Hmm.
hmm. And so it could force me actually to reframe my prompt a few different ways
Yeah.
so that I go, okay, what keeps showing up
Hmm.
and what's falling by the wayside. But that's, yeah, AI is just weird that way. But I'm curious if people who are more native to it now, particularly like younger folks who are coming up and it's just there, if they're going to see it the same way. I just don't know.
If I think that the relationship is going to be different in how they use the AI, but if you ask me from my generation, do I fear that AI is going to take my job away? I would say no.
Yeah.
It's all about the relationship that you have with artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
If you are looking at it as something that will do the work for you,
Yeah.
then it's going to take your job away.
Yeah.
If you look at it more of like a partnership,
Hmm.
it will give you information. You still have to check it. You
Yeah.
still really look at it. And just like anyone, if I ask it one way, it may need to be asked a different way. So
Hmm.
that's like developing how your relationship is with AI,
Yeah.
learning to ask it things and taking what it says either at face value and doing more research or
Yeah.
that when you ask certain things, it will work. So
Yeah.
it's how you utilize it.
Yeah. No, I get that. So I'm curious. There's been lots of TV shows about business over the years, but I haven't really seen one about like an HR department. Maybe it's happened. And I always like if there was a TV show about an HR department, who is there anybody you can think of who would be perfectly cast to play somebody in the HR world? You come from the world of performing, so I wonder.
Um, you know, this is gonna sound really stupid, but I actually think Melissa McCarthy would be
Ooh, yeah. I like that. I like it. Uh,
only because I think it'll be funny to see how she has to deliver some messages, knowing how her on-screen persona is.
hmm. That's a funny one. Yeah, yeah. It's funny. I think about that question. I don't know why like Martin Short came to mind. He's obviously older, so he might not be.
I could see that. Yeah, I could.
Yeah. Anyway, it's kind of a fun thought. I actually am, I'm really, the more I think about it, the more I'm actually surprised. It feels like a really ripe area to explore, uh, particularly if you go on the comedy route, which I like that you went with Melissa McCarthy. Like,
Think it would be, I think that would be a way for people to really see what it is like behind
yeah,
the
yeah,
scenes.
maybe we've got a project here, Philip. Exactly. So I know I've been asking you a handful of questions here. I want to give you a chance. Do you have a question you'd like to pose to our audience?
Well, I think I think the logical question for me would be, if you've had an experience with any kind of HR professional that didn't sit well with you, what do you wish that particular person did differently?
Mm,
If they did do it differently, okay, would that change the way that you interact, not just with HR now, but with other employees?
yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a great question. Yeah, I know. I'm already percolating on it, so I imagine folks will have some things to say. Um, if you could wave a magic wand and create a sort of fully desuckified world of work, what does that world look like?
From my perspective, you know, I'm not going to say anything like I wish I didn't have to deliver bad news. I wish I didn't have to do the difficult things that other members of leadership, are unable to do at the moment. I wish I could have my mentors
Mm,
around me because it would be nice for them not only to see what I'm doing. I mentioned one who is,
hmm
significant to me in terms of theater. Another one, Shelley, who I used to work with before. Another person who actually did some coaching for some of my employees. Her name is Carrie Renee Fuller, and she's
Okay.
now in Wicked. And she taught me not just about saying things, but the meaning that you have behind the words. To make people remember it, you really have to put that emotion in it so that you're believable. And the person would probably be my mom. She's
Mm,
um, she's been very instrumental in a lot of the advice that I give, a lot of the uh, practical decisions that I make. I think in order to desuckify work for myself, I wish I could have these four people around me all the time.
yeah. Wow, that's really lovely. It reminds me of a thought that I've had and I've seen others have, which is this isn't exactly the same, but so many companies, um, if there's this ageism that happens and people kind of age out of businesses. And I think a wonderful role would be sort of company mentors,
Yes.
people who maybe it's part time or whatever, but just some presence of people who have gone down the road and have all that accumulated wisdom to have them in your circle, in your fold, so that, you know, when you're having a tricky time, you've got somebody you can count on,
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
So
Mentor, very, very important, I think.
yeah.
And, I say it would be nice to have them around me, but true mentorship isn't about having your mentors around you all the time. I think it's about paying it forward.
Yeah, you carry them with you and the lessons and their presence is with you. They don't have to be there all the time. But I get it. There's something nice about somebody being there at times when you need them. Um, so I like to have a little fun in the beginning and end of this show with some sound effects. If you listen, you'll hear cats meowing and some other goofy stuff. And I always invite the guests to contribute to that sound effect library. And whatever you do, if you're
Ooh,
up for it, will show
yeah.
up.
I'm definitely up for it.
Yeah.
So my favorite Disney character is Goofy.
Okay.
I have spent the last couple of years trying to perfect his laugh. So I'm gonna try. The you'll did that come through?
I think so. I heard that like that.
Okay.
Like that funny. Yeah, that's great. I love that. Uh, last note, I know we're running late on time here. So last note is just how do people find you, connect with you, all that good stuff online?
Well, I am a public profile on LinkedIn, so
Mhm.
you certainly find me there. I'm also on social media too, Facebook, Instagram. Yes, and
Awesome.
I do have a YouTube channel where I do have some recordings that I did through the pandemic to
Oh,
help out
cool.
their broadcasting projects. So there's a few things there too if you'd like to come check me out.
Cool. I'll point people in all those directions. And, you know, just thank you, Philip. This is really fun. It was good to kind of reconnect in a deeper way and also just learning about HR in a way that most of us just don't get to,
Yep.
honestly. And so to maybe dispel some of those misconceptions and give people a chance to figure out, what they want from HR and try to find places that deliver on that.
Yes. Yeah. And remember, we're all people too.
Yeah.
So please don't hate all of us. We're actually very lovely people.
I appreciate that. Thanks, Philip.
Okay. Thanks a lot, TJ. It's good to see you.
Thanks, everyone, for tuning in to the DesuckifyWork podcast. And a huge thanks to Philip for bringing a window into the HR world to the show. You can follow Philip on LinkedIn and check him out on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube as well. If you enjoyed the conversation and would like to explore what a more human work culture could look like, I invite you to schedule a free half-hour discovery session. Type meow on the calendar invite, and I'll also send you a free DesuckifyWork t-shirt. Bye, everyone.